I try on Mondays to wear a jersey. Usually it's Victory Monday if Jaden Daniels has led us to a victory. Otherwise, a jersey represents somebody that was awesome in fantasy football. We do not have a Sean Tucker jersey, unfortunately. A number 44 Syracuse jersey would also have worked. But a lot of people are like, wow, Sean Tucker, what an amazing game. This came out of nowhere. Not for everybody. Roll this clip.
I got Sean Tucker here, and it's a desperation play because he's been playing less than 35% of the snaps the past few games, but Buffalo has the third worst rushing defense in the NFL. They're tied for most rushing touchdowns allowed to running backs, and Sean Tucker himself, I think the Bucs really like him. He's had double-digit touches in 2 straight games, so we'll go with Sean Tucker for the desperation play.
That was Matthew's first time holding a microphone, by the way.
You're going to look at it like,
well,
it's like an ice cream cone.
I'll tell you
what's the ice cream dripping?
So first off, shout out to Lawrence Jackson.
Amazing call.
The point is that on our desperation play segment on Fantasy Football pregame, his desperation call was Sean Tucker. Mine was Greg Dortch, the human Dortch, who had a nice game, but didn't have 3 touchdowns the way Sean Tucker did. We'll talk about Tucker in a second. I'll just say about that clip. I'm freezing. My hands are popsicles, and if you look at that clip, what you'll see is my other hand is actually in my pocket holding hand warmers. I'm miserable in that clip. I was miserable for 2 hours. Like I'm exhausted.
I watched
I'm cold. I'm miserable. It's only 3 of us. Jay's phoning it in. The whole thing.
Jay was like this, trying to hold the desk together.
It's like papers are flying everywhere. And we look out, and the crew is all shivering, and they're all doing this. They're like, they're just like,
when are we out of here?
They're like, we thought we just had to do football night, but now we've got to do your dumb show. And I feel bad. They're watching stuff they don't care about. Anyway, whole thing was a disaster.
At least the football game was good afterwards.
Good Lord. Back to Sean Tucker here, though. Connor, I feel like you and I talked about him a lot in the preseason, and Lawrence as well. Like, when I was at the Combine, again, I talked to a high team source at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who said, we love Sean Tucker. We think he's got the talent to be a number 1 running back in the NFL. His only issue is he's on a team with Bucky Irving.
Right, and now you see why, because of how awesome he looked with a lower snap rate than Rachaad White yesterday, both on the ground and through the air. Now, you want to start any running back against the Bills defense, we know that, but he looked explosive. He's got great acceleration. He can make people miss. I mean, this was somebody that was insanely talented at Syracuse. Don't get it twisted. Some injuries kind of slowed down that pathway, and like you said, the depth chart of the Bucs slowed that down. It's just a matter of course, this is the week when Bucky Irving's been working his way back on the field.
That's the frustrating. I mean, I'll just be honest. Like, I had a ton. If you went and looked at every draft that I had, I think I had Sean Tucker on probably 80% of my teams as a late-round running back pick. But then Bucky Irving goes, oh, here we go, Sean Tucker. I'm telling you guys, he's going to be a thing this year. And then Rachaad White gets all the work. And so now I have Sean Tucker on like half my teams, because I've dropped him.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of people have. Where we've talked about him on the waiver wire show for a couple weeks about how he's been increasing his touches as well. But this is the question from Ved that I think everyone's asking. How do you see the Bucs backfield going forward? Is White droppable, assuming Bucky Irving comes back? I don't think Rachaad White is droppable.
No.
What's unfortunate is, as great as his performance was, guys, third straight game with 10 or more touches. He's averaging almost 6 yards per carry over the last 2 weeks. He got 100% of the goal-to-go rushing attempts in this game. But I don't think Bucky Irving loses his job.
No,
the only thing I can see happening is that Sean Tucker has forced his way into making this more of a 3-headed committee, and he's going to hurt Bucky Irving's value than have any standalone value on his own.
I think that's the problem, is that it just kind of, eats away at each other, as we like to say. And it's not that this is an outlier game, because I think Sean Tucker is really good. He also averaged 3.2 yards before contact per attempt.
Yeah.
Like, this is just the Bills' run defense, where it was the perfect scenario.
Yep, he was able to get a runway on a lot of these runs, and he could activate that kind of outlier speed and get to the edge. I would say my guess of how it's going to go is that Bucky Irving will get 2/3 of the early down work, and Tucker gets 1/3 of it, and then Rashad White is the receiving back, and all that adds up to is Bucky Irving's the guy you want, but you don't feel amazing about it. Now, they have a really difficult matchup against the Rams this week. That's brutal. After that, though...
That's the Sunday night game on NBC and Peacock. I'm a company man.
Which would be a great game. But after that, the schedule really lightens up because they're in the NFC South.
Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, we'll get to, there's some Falcons news that season.
Two games against the Panthers for the division, which is unbelievable. So, not an imposing schedule down the stretch, so there will be running back value. It's just that it's hard to sift through it, and it's probably Bucky Irving still.
The last thing from this game for me, guys, is Emeka Egbuka, who's now had single-digit fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games. Over that time frame, he's been wide receiver 28, which is concerning when you think about Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. We were sort of like, okay, here's Egbuka, who was so good at the beginning of the year, and now it should open up for him. And just, their offense has struggled, and they've had some weird games. But
a little chaotic. And Chris Godwin is going to be back.
Yeah.
In the near future.
The other three things with Egbuka. I got 3 points about him. First of all, I believe he's caught like 45 out of 84 targets, which isn't ideal. He's struggled a little bit. I think it's been a bit overblown, but he's struggled to create against press man coverage. And then secondly, like that 77-yard touchdown against the Eagles that touched 3 Eagles defenders before just bouncing into his lap for a touchdown. You take that out, and it's like, all right, it was still a good season, great season, but doesn't look nearly as impressive. And that play isn't predictive at all. That was just a complete act of God. So, yeah, I think Egbuka, he's still getting the targets, which is the main thing, and that's going to sustain as long as Mike Evans is out. But, yeah, the idea that he was going to be like a legit wide receiver 1 the rest of the way is certainly in doubt.
Yeah, he's more in that wide receiver 2-3 kind of corner there. And give me Tyler Warren as Offensive Rookie of the Year over Emeka Egbuka.
Or Tirico and McMillan, perhaps.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.